Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're here with Rachel Ralston from Art by Rachel. She's a local sports photographer. We're going to talk about her photographer journey. And if you're a parent or a student athlete, you're really going to want to listen to this. So let's get into it. When did you start using cameras?
Oh. So do you want me to say, like, my whole? Because I can, like, talk for, like, a good while about my camera journey, because it's not traditional in any sense of
Yeah, let's hear it.
the journey. So I took a darkroom photography class in my senior year of high school. It was a blow-off class, but I absolutely fell in love with, the process, and I really learned, like, the exposure triangle on, like, how to properly expose a photo, use ISO, focus, just really the bare bones of a camera, because it wasn't a digital camera. And I also got to do the whole process of, like, printing and developing, which was, like, gave me a greater understanding of what goes into a photograph even once it is digital. Um, so after that, I got really into iPhone photography, and I was, like, dead set on, like, you don't need a nice camera. You just need to know, like, the basics of photography to make good photos.
I
So I
think that's partially true.
Yes, and I still stand by it. So I really like, looking back now, like, it was so important that I, like, honed in on composition and rule of thirds and all those things that really, like, make a good photograph without having. iPhone camera wasn't bad, but it was not a professional camera by any means.
Yeah. Well, I kind of have a similar story too. We started doing these podcasts on phones,
Mhm.
and now we've got these better cameras, but that hasn't actually necessarily made us better. Like, they're more reliable, better storage, better battery. You can get cool depth of field, but, like, you're right, composition. Like,
Mm.
this set, we're still learning. We're
Yeah.
we're still noobs, and we're trying to get better at it. So you started learning. How did you learn those things like
So
composition?
that was, like, a basics in that darkroom photography class, just kinda those pillars of photography, and just learning all the, like, just, like, leading lines. There's so much that can go into composition, and you learn the rules, and then you learn to break the rules on, when you artistically feel like it. So I was really into that iPhone photography, so much so, like, I would put photos into county fairs and, like, try to win with my iPhone photography, and I would have so much pride if I, like, got a ribbon over someone because I was like, "I didn't even use a real camera," like, and just proving my point that, like, good photographs come from knowing composition, how to use the tools that you have.
Mhm.
So after I went to college for a little bit, I didn't pursue photography at all. I really liked taking pictures on my iPhone and really, like, into flowers and nature and birds, anything that was just readily available. Um, but then I had the opportunity to go. I was studying education. So I actually have an education degree is what I studied in college. My junior year, I was going to a 4-month trip to Australia to work at a remote school there for Indigenous children. Nope, Aboriginal children. Um, and so it was in the middle of the desert, middle of nowhere, but I knew I'd get to travel. And so I asked my mom if I could get a camera because I did want to upgrade. I was really happy with what I was doing on my iPhone, but just wanted to kind of level up just a little bit. And I wanted interchangeable lenses. I wanted to be able to zoom further than the iPhone could do, but be able to have that flexibility.
Mhm.
My mom said no. So as a perfect little daddy's girl, I went running to my dad and I was like, I have some money saved aside, but, like, can you help cover the extra cost so that I can get, like, a big lens and my first camera? And of course he did. And that was my first camera, and it was a Sony A6000. It was the lowest camera that you could get with interchangeable lenses. I still have that camera and I still take that camera hiking. It is so small and compact, but so powerful. So I love that camera. It went through all my travels with me. So I really was just photographing, uh, you know, just travels on people that I was working with, or Australia is beautiful. So I took a lot of pictures of nature, and all the different animals there. We don't have the same animals. So just getting to see wild kangaroos and wallaby and all that kind of stuff. Um,
How close did you get to, like, those kangaroos? Heard they can be pretty aggressive.
yeah. So it's like a misconception. They're like the, like, crazy viral videos you see are like boxing kangaroos, and they're not super common. Um, that's not what you usually see, like, wallabies, which are, like, this big.
Hmm.
and they look like baby kangaroos, but they're full grown. Um, but it's so funny because the kids were like, "You've never seen a kangaroo?" And I was like, "No," like, "You've never seen a deer?" Like, this is the same. So, like, very comparable to deer, like, you see them as, roadkill on the side of the road, like, just kind of a nuisance to society. And a lot of people hunt them and eat them, stuff like that, so it's very similar to that.
That's cool. So you're traveling around Australia, taking pictures. At what point did you make your first, I guess, what was your first job or your first paycheck through photography? When
Ye
did you turn it into a side income?
A while. So I still was just doing it as a hobby. I believed I was a good photographer and I liked doing it. So once I graduated college, I got married and I moved to Indiana with my husband so he could finish his last year of school. And I applied for an animal shelter where the main responsibility was taking pictures of the adoptable animals. Um, that was, like, the dream job. I love dogs and animals, and they had everything from small animals, bunnies, rabbits, ferrets, to cats, dogs. Um, we even had it was a municipal shelter, which means we couldn't turn away any animal, so we had cows, chickens,
Really?
a peacock that got loose from the zoo. I didn't take pictures of those animals, but they were in our in our building. But that's where I got to shooting every day consistently. I was taking pictures every day, getting more and more comfortable with my camera, getting off auto and really learning how to manually shoot. Um, and just learning the quick turnaround of like I can't take a picture of a dog and then let it sit for a week. I have to edit right away and get it out because that dog's time at the shelter, I want them out quickly.
Yeah.
So getting that gets them out of the shelter quicker and just learning like storytelling. I only could go into a kennel, so there's not much you can do in a kennel, but you got creative and to show the dog's personalities and showcase them cute. They're usually really stressed out, so it was a big challenge, but I absolutely loved it. And like I
So
said,
did you see that the better photo you made, that dog would leave sooner?
oh, absolutely, and my coworker was, like, a writing genius and would, like, narrate for these animals, and, like, she's hilarious, so, like, if we could get her, funny photo, like, with their tongue sticking out or them winking, like, she could create such a story that would get people in the door to meet them. Because really it just takes one person, the right person to meet them, and then they can be adopted out, so
So photography was pretty important for the animal shelter.
yes, very important. And if you are a young photographer, volunteer at your local animal shelter. They can always use high quality photos. In the animal shelter world, it's a very hard industry. Photos aren't always a priority. Keeping the dogs fed and watered and clean is the priority, and that can be a big struggle. So having a photographer come in and get high quality photos, again with that fast turnaround, that's what you want. Things quickly.
Okay, so I have this question for you as you've been doing this since, what'd you say, 2013?
Well, so that's when I got when was exposed to photography. I wouldn't say that I, like, became a professional or, like, I didn't start making income until 2023.
So the other day, just a few days ago, actually, I got a random call from this kid who's, I think, just about to graduate high school. And he was like, "Hey, is this town square?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "I'm a photographer. I was wondering if y'all were hiring or had any internships or anything." And I spoke to him for a little bit, but me as a business owner, when someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm a photographer. Do you have a place for me in your business?" I didn't immediately like think, "Oh yeah, I need a photographer."
Mhm.
So why do businesses? What are ways we can start thinking as business owners, like how to use like maybe in our specific instance, do you think we could benefit from having a photographer around, and what would that photographer do? Because I really don't know.
Yeah, I think, in to say today's society, it's all highlight reels, it's all, like, perfection, and just being able to see, like, the real face behind. Don't use stock photos, like, get a photographer and take your photo, not, like, or, like, even, like, these plants, if you're selling plants, like, get photos of, like, what you actually have, not, like, stock photos, that can be deceived as or perceived as
So if
yours.
I see a stock photo or even an AI generated photo,
Mhm.
it's not, it doesn't make me excited to go to a store, like if they have stock photos of plants or AI plants.
Yeah.
You can tell pretty quick.
Right, absolutely, and you don't get, like, the brand's voice through a photo, you can story tell. I mean, pictures are so powerful, and so, when you have a photographer, like, they can help control that story within, even, like, the color shirt you're wearing. If you're wearing a red shirt, it can come off aggressive. Like, there's so much, like, theory behind color, and, like, all of that can be captured in a photograph to better tell your brand story.
So maybe I should call that guy back. I don't know. But I bet there's a lot of other people that own restaurants or
Mhm.
tire shops, mechanics, and even lawyers, like really any business. Like I bet it's not top of mind for a lot of us to think we need a photographer.
No, and because people always think too, like, "Oh, I can take it with my phone," and you can. Start there. But, like, I'm a big fan of just, like, putting your face as part of your business. People want that connection, they wanna know it's real,
Yep.
and not just people wanna have relationships, so, like, letting them learn about you, sharing information about your life can go so far, even if it's not related to your business, just creating connections with people.
When did you transition to you're running a business now?
Yeah. So, big shout out to Harley at Scarlet Marketing here. I applied for a job in 2020 with him. I had no formal training, but I believed in my skills. He saw potential and believed in my skills, and he hired me on as a graphic designer and photographer. And I worked for him for a long time, getting, like we said, just getting content for people's social media, high quality photos. I helped run some social media, graphic designs for signs and things like that. So I really honed in on a lot of skills while I was there. And then, oh, did you have something to say?
Oh no,
No.
sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
I was just readjusting.
Um, so I loved working there. I also got to see what uh, him run a business and just see what a small business. I mean, that business is booming, and I don't mean to call it offensively small, but it's a small business, a local small business. So they getting to see a business run from the inside. I got to see how he operated, how he worked with clients, all that kind of stuff. A lot of that I take into my own business today. But in 2022, I went full time at the Boys and Girls Club. An opportunity presented itself. I was looking for something just a little more desk job. Just wanted a break. I was feeling a little burnt out on social media, and things like that. And so I just wanted a desk job. Part of the responsibility there was to run their social media, but it was just one account, and I could handle that.
Yep.
Um,
Well, I
yeah.
well, I just want to say like it is hard. This business, Town Square, is kind of we've tried different things over the last couple of years, and at one point we were thinking maybe we should get into social media management, and I hate that.
Yeah.
It's it's hard enough to even just manage
Mhm.
one page, and, yeah, it really stinks.
Yeah.
So, I know. I feel you.
Yeah.
And I think the best in my opinion, is that the best solution for a business is that you and your own team run your own, and you don't outsource it, because the people that you're gonna outsource it to are running multiple, and it's a hard job,
Yeah.
and they're not gonna be able to unless they're just really good. I haven't worked with anyone locally that does that, but I'd say just kind of own it yourself, you know?
Mm. I do have help on my social media currently. I have a high school student, Mary, that helps, run and post for me. I do write, all the captions. Still coming from my heart, it's still my voice, but she helps me just get things out on time. I'm so in the weeds of shooting and editing that it's just one thing off my plate, and I'm honestly still, like, burnt out from social media. I don't like doing it, and so it is worth it to be off my plate. So still having control over, everything gets approved, I see it all of that, but I'm not the one hitting post or scheduling, and it is not have to be in the front of my brain every time I finish a shoot, think, "Oh, now what am I gonna when am I gonna post this?" And so she handles planning things out, spacing things out, filling the gaps when I'm super busy, it's really easy to have all the content, but then when I don't have a shoot for a week or 2, we still need to stay consistent,
Yep.
so she just helps with that. Also, she's young and knows the trends and helps me, like,
Oh, yeah.
be cool online.
Yeah, that's Karen and Gabriella for us. They well, 'cause we make a lot of content, but then posting it is the hard part.
Mhm.
I think
That's why I have Mary help, because I was like, "I have the content created. I do these shoots, I've delivered the photos." It's just and sometimes I get so bogged down, like, I deliver on an average football game, I'm delivering 315 photos, 400 photos. It can be exhausting for me to choose the top 10 because it's like, I like them all.
yeah.
So it's helpful to have, like, a different set of eyes and make sure I'm not showcasing the same kid every week. Not have for the same kid in one post, but spreading all the love out on Instagram.
Yeah. Is social media been a good tool for your business, do you think, in terms of growing it, getting new clients?
Not as much as I wanted to. Um, I'm hoping to get better at that and make more. I don't do any ads or anything like that. I just have a lot of repeat customers, which I'm really thankful for. Um, but it's been I say that. My Instagram in the past 30 days, I've had over 200,000 views. So, like, that's, like, crazy to me. Um, so I'm getting traction, I'm getting views, people are seeing my work. Whether that's converting into new clients is not right now. Like, I mean, a handful. Um, but I also am just, like, I was a three-sport athlete in high school, and I have so little proof of all that hard work. My mom did great with what she had, and we have some cell phone pictures, but I was always playing school ball and then travel ball at the same time of 3 different sports, so I was always busy, and I just have so little to, like, remember it by, and so, like, I really like providing that memories or those, tangible items that kids can refer back to once they're, 10 years down the road, 15 years when they have kids, they can show them kinda their glory days. High school really is
Yeah.
your glory days, especially if you don't play college, like, you're on top of the world in high school. Um, so it's a fun time for me to look back on, but I don't have a lot to,
Yep.
look back on, and then what I do have is, like, really blurry or just, like, not great. Um, so I like to provide that for the kids in Russellville and the local, community so that they can have that and that, um, parents also too can relax during the games and just focus on watching your kid play. Enjoy the moment. Let me capture the photos. Like, let me worry about getting the right shot, being in the right spot, having the record playing while the game's happening. Like, you just sit and relax and enjoy as relax as much as you can in watching your kid play a sport, but, just giving them a break, that it's, like, put the responsibility on me to capture those moments. I also have a better field advantage. I get to be down on the sidelines, where parents don't usually have that type of access.
Oh, yeah. I think it's nice when you're at an event because, like, you'll see everybody doing this. It's like a sea of people with their
And they're just watching through their
lower quality yeah, they're watching through the phone.
yeah, which I get wanting to preserve those memories, and that's where, I love getting to do what I do so that, I look up in the stands and they're cheering for their kid now. They're not trying to capture it, they're just enjoying being in the moment.
That's actually, I think, a great angle, a great thing, like, as a parent, if you have a kid and doing high school or college sports, a good reason why you'd wanna hire a
Mhm.
photographer.
Yeah,
Never thought about that before. Haven't had to think about that yet.
yeah. And I just wrote a series of Instagram posts too to go out kind of highlighting that, and just, like, to the athletes, like, every athlete is important. Whether you ride the bench, whether you are getting in the newspaper every week, like, every person on a team is important. You play a role, um, so just kind of honing in on that, like, you are important and you also deserve to be part of the story. So even if, I always get there early to get warm-ups, so even if you're not seeing playing time, like, you're part of this team and you also deserve to have quality photos of your time as an athlete.
Do you have a website?
I do.
And on your website, does it have, like, a gallery of
Mhm.
your work, your
Yeah,
best work?
yeah.
Do you get to update that a lot? Or is it kind of
Yeah, so I guess I don't really have, like a deck card or whatever it's called, where it's, like, just, like, my favorite photos, but I have every photo I've pretty much ever taken is on my, like, gallery website, and so
yeah.
they're very easily accessible, but I probably should make a, like, my favorite photos. It's so hard to choose, though.
I like that, yeah. I bet it is.
And, like, the situation changes too. Like, it's so easy, like, I just photographed the state championship boys game. They went, did the four-peat, so it was really exciting, and, like, obviously, those photos are, like, incredible, like, because, like, just being part of that, I've gotten to photograph in the last 3 years, um, winning the state championship game as well as just follow, their story the last several years. And I've built good relationships with those parents and, like, I'm crying on the sideline as they're winning because I'm so excited that these kids I'm gonna cry now. It's so fun to be a part of this community.
That's powerful, yeah. It's, you get to watch them grow up
Mhm.
and then achieve so much.
Yeah, and that's what gets I just did also the AVSA photos, so these kids are, like, 4 years old, and I'm so excited to see, 10 years from now, who's gonna be, the striker on the Cyclones, like, just getting to see capturing them so young and then getting to build those relationships and, um, yeah,
So you're gonna be doing this for a long time?
I hope so. Uh, I love it here, I love being part of this community, the families are great here, they've accepted me here, I'm not from here, I'm from Chicago, and so just moving down here has been we didn't know anyone coming down here. My husband is from Maumelle, so his family lives, pretty close to us, but we don't get to see them super often. So I've built some really good, powerful relationships here in Russellville that, they've stuck their neck out for me, and they have really helped me get this business off the ground.
That's great. And how'd you hear about where we're at right now, the Co-Create Hub? What was the first time that came on your radar?
Oh. So, probably 2 different reasons. I have photographed, Chris and Tara's daughter in cheerleading in high school, so I was familiar with them through that, and then I worked at a co-working space in Conway, the studio down there, which is similar to this, so I was familiar with the idea of co-working, and I knew I'm just a big community person, so being around other people, being around other creatives is really good for me and my soul and helping, just bouncing ideas off people and things like that. So I like being not it can be really lonesome when owning your own business, when you're your only employee or, I do get to work with my husband, but, just being around other people too is really good.
Absolutely. Yep, agreed. So how are you liking it here at the Hub? What does
I
it
do.
bring to you? Besides that, just being around those other people, what are some other things you enjoy about it?
Yeah, I mean, I've met you, which has been a great connection. We're both camera geeks, so just getting to like geek out about equipment and figure things out together has been fun and bounce ideas off each other. I also I had a really small home office, and now I have a big office here. And my husband loves that I can keep all of my equipment here. Just so to just try to get stuff out of the house, has really been really nice. And I've recently started doing team and individual photos, and we got a printer, so we've been printing our own, high quality prints rather than, like, using Walmart or Walgreens. And so now I have a bucket in the front where families can just come and pick up their prints where, like, before I was having to, like, drive to them or, like, "Well, I work at the Boys and Girls Club, so you can stop by here." So it was just, like, creating awkwardness. So now it's like, it's out there. They can come whenever the hub is open, and they can just grab their photos, and I've kind of taken me out of that piece, which is really nice.
Nice, yeah. It is really nice being here, and a couple years ago before I started doing any of this stuff locally, I, basically got out of this role. I was working in this company and running a company too, kinda like you're doing,
Mhm.
working somewhere and also have a company, and then I got burnout, so I quit, and then, like, ended up moving my family in with my parents, and I had all this gear. Not really a lot of gear yet, but then as this started, we started getting a lot of gear, and then
Yeah.
it just was filling up my parents' house.
Well, and just stands are, like, cumbersome, and
Yeah.
lighting like, these boxes are, like, they're not easy to store, like.
Nope, not at all. And, yeah, being here whenever a potential client comes here, it's just cool because 'cause they're like, "Whoa," you know?
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and,
just
like
adds a lot of legitimacy.
yeah, and I was able
Especially at
to
a coffee shop or at your house or something.
yeah, I meet with a lot of booster clubs, so, I'm not meeting with one person, but I'm meeting with, like, the executive board, so I've been able to, like, use the conference rooms here and have my presentation up, kinda, like, recapping last year and then what we wanna do moving forward, just have a nice presentation, and everyone has room and coffee to to stay awake during the meeting.
Awesome. Well, there's one thing you'd want the community at large to know about you, your business, or anything that you wanna shout out, what would that be?
I think, talking to 2 different my parents and my athletes, going back to that, like, "Parents, you deserve a break." Like, let me capture it, let me worry about it, let's preserve those achievements that they're doing. I do senior banners and all that kind of stuff too. So if you're with an organization like a boosters club, I can serve in more than just photography. My husband does all our videography. So we can try to be, as conducive as we can, meeting all the needs that boosters and organizations like that would need. We understand that you guys are working full time, you're volunteering for your booster clubs. So we love to come in and kind of alleviate the pressure of, art is my strong suit. So let me handle that and my specialty so that you can better serve uh, the booster club and your organization as a whole.
Yep, and then the students
Yeah.
get some great photos.
Yeah.
Look
And
cool.
just,
It makes the students I haven't had in when I was in high school playing sports, yeah, I don't have any high quality photos, but they
mhm.
look really cool, especially the ones you do, and then there's another company we've spoken about, out of Little Rock that'll do, the behind the scenes,
Mhm.
you know? And it's just like, "Wow, those photos are so cool,"
Yeah.
you know? Probably is cool for those students to have.
Yeah. And to just, have a small part, even if you don't continue on to collegiate or anything like that, like, it's still part of your character building and to have those nice photos.
Yep.
I wish I had them. So,
Well, you're helping the next generation. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, sharing your story. If anyone out there needs a photographer, you specialize you just kinda focus on sports, right?
I do.
Do you ever get out of that or you just refer people to other photographers?
Yeah, I like to refer out, there are other great family photographers and senior photographers. I do field sessions, with the athletes on, the Cyclone Stadium, which I like doing those, but, um, more portrait work and weddings, never weddings. I always refer out there's so many great photographers in this area, right in Russellville, not even, like, outsourcing to Conway or Little Rock, there's so many in Russellville. Um but yeah, I really focus just on sports, both team and individuals and action. And any sport, like or even activity, like, I love bringing light to, like, those that don't get enough attention, and that's why I've gotten so into soccer because we have a historic program here at Russellville, and they don't always get to see any limelight for it. So giving them and then, I work with the courier too, so they were able to run some good photos from the game. So just getting them the attention that they deserve after long, hard seasons and, working hard. I've also done, like, the bowling team. Like, I get, like, nothing is too small to have quality photos from.
Awesome. Well, everybody, you know who to reach out to, Art by Rachel, artbyrachel.com,
Mhm.
and on social media. Thanks for watching, everybody.